over the weekend, we got this sad news from the Chief Medical Director of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Professor Adetokunbo Fabanwo, who said that about 35% of LASUT nurses have eased themselves out of work. They've lost 35%. He said this, that about almost on a daily basis, he has to sign 3 to 4 resignation letters. He mentioned how, even though he has discussed with the governor has given the permission for the institution, that's LASUT, to recruit new nurses, it still needs to be addressed. Spoke about how some of the retired nurses should do more to
make up for the
damage, make up for the ugly news that is going around. But we are going to be discussing the brain drain. We're going to be discussing brain drain in the health sector. We talk a lot about doctors, but now we're saying 35% of nurses have left. Just one hospital is recording this figure, which means that if we are doing a census of all the other hospitals, we might be getting similar, if not worse, reports from them as well. The question is, what would we expect the government's response to be at this time to this particular situation? Should the government say UK should not give anybody visas if you are a nurse, or what can the government do at this point in time?
The government can only ensure by providing everything the hospitals need to thrive. That's all they can do. You can't stop citizens from deciding to seek greener pasture. You sure? You cannot. You can't make that law. It's not possible because, first of all, you are not the one that trained them in school. You did not choose the profession for them. And they are in a profession where it's no longer beneficial. They are no longer feeling appreciated in what they are doing. Everybody has a right to decide, okay, I don't want to be a nurse again, I want to sing. Would you stop me from following another passion if this passion is not paying? If we're afraid that the doctors are leaving, we should be scared that the nurses are leaving, because that means a total decay of our hospital system will be happening. So government needs to tell themselves the truth.
Government in the hospital first. Let's talk to ourselves.
Good.
And presently, since Friday, I've been visiting a public hospital within Lagos State. And to God who made me, the shock of seeing the urine from the waste septic tank float to the working area where people will pass, and the stench of it. I wonder, who is the CMD of this hospital?
It's been the same. That hospital, it has been the same since like 10 years ago when I gave birth there.
So all past CMDs of that hospital should be probed, because you know why? I was in a public hospital, the one I told you about. I was there. And even the FMC, that one in Yaba, I visit there regularly to see my auntie. I see the work the CMDs are putting in. That FMC, I will say it here, I don't know who the CMD is, I don't know his name, but I must say, well done.
Impact.
My father-in-law passed in that hospital. I will say, well done, sir. There's even a lift. They put a lift for some of their patients who they see that there's a difficulty. They found that hospital that is as old as railway compound and found a way to put in a lift for their patients within that hospital under the watch of a CMD. President Buhari did not go there. The Minister for Health did not get there. Somebody is managing that place and thinking, I must do well under my watch. And so the nurses working under him will wait.
They'll be inspired.
But you see that one that I'm going now, I'm going to cover name because I'm hoping that I talk with the commissioner. That hospital, the CMDs, all past CMDs for 10 years behind, must be probed. As in, EFCC must be on their case. How can their water is not working? Patients carry buckets in this state of Lagos, inside that hospital. Nothing is working. The AC in a private ward is not working. Somebody goes somewhere to switch it off. I don't even know what they are running in that place.
The truth is, the exodus of our healthcare personnel and workers is a symptom of what is really going on in our country. People would not leave if it was working well. And where they are leaving to, if it was the same as here, they won't go there. And if this was better, we will see an exodus of people from other countries to our own country. There is a fundamental problem. There's a problem of infrastructure, but there's also, for me, everything rests on corruption. Monies that have been budgeted and assigned for a project or for infrastructural maintenance and development is not used, or it is used half-half. Salaries are meant to be paid. There have been cases where we hear about salaries that were already paid by the federal government. The hospital administration finds a way to hold off on those salaries. They are not paid immediately because they have put them in some sort of account to generate some money for the, those in admin. And so all these things, whether we like it or not, come together, and then we have a situation like this. People would leave for economic reasons. Everybody is looking for better, a better life, a better lifestyle. And if your country can provide that for you, who would want to leave?
Thanks for staying with us. During the Hot Topic, we're taking a story about the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria and the fact that they have a new act that is regulating the integrated marketing communications industry. The Director General, Dr. Lekan Fadolapo, announced the ban also concerning this act, the ban on use of foreign models, foreign voice-over artists on the nation's advertising space to further enhance inclusive growth within the sector. So they're saying, those of you that like to bring in foreign models to advertise for you, to walk down the aisle and do stuff like that, that's stopped. Also, using foreign voice-over artists is wrong. But while we're discussing that, Mara made a point that, okay, so what exactly is a Nigerian accent? How do you even determine what's a Nigerian accent? Because a Nigerian can have a fusion of different accents. So is it even possible to determine Nigerian accent? How do you determine what a voiceover can use versus what they cannot use? That's the real conversation here. So it sounds nice on paper, but in execution, it's a whole different matter. So that's our conversation today. What are your thoughts on this?
Let me start by saying that if foreign models, I just want to, so I don't forget this point, if foreign models attract your buyers, you are in the wrong country. Yes. Because in their country, your local models don't attract their buyers. So it's about sticking to what originally is ours. Standing with what originally is ours. And I know that when it comes to languages where children are growing up and getting languages, they are built by, first of all, their mother tongue, whatever language is spoken at home. Of course, we have children now who are raised by cartoons, and cartoons will influence how they speak and sound. But basically, let's, for instance, take out the cartoons. We have grandma, grandpa, all those people affect the language of a growing child. And the Nigerian language, we cannot say your English language should sound a particular way because we have different local languages. We have different local languages. But what is natural to you based on your location is what is your Nigerian language.
Okay, let me see. First of all, I really love that we're beginning to sort of localize our policies. We understand that it shows growth, and I'm all for it. But also in doing that, we need to be careful not to disenfranchise a group of people who are very much Nigerian like everyone else, but they've had different influences. And that is the thing about Nigeria. We're just a group of,
sponges.
We're immersed in different cultures, everything. It's in the Nigerian home that you find a Nigerian that has a child that has grown up that goes to school maybe in the UK, and his brother is in America, one is in China, and they come home and they have different accents. It may sound American to you or British to you here in Nigeria, but when they go abroad, their accent doesn't sound American to those people there. Or does not sound British. They will tell them, you have an accent. So now this Nigerian has come home and has gotten a job on radio. I say, Auntie, Uncle, don't use that accent. It is not a Nigerian accent. So for me, I feel that there's going to be a problem deciding which accent exactly is Nigerian. Nigerian accent is an accent of a Nigerian. Simple.
How do we define it, though?
So that's what I'm saying. The Nigerian is speaking, that is your accent. That is the Nigerian accent. Now, when we are talking about models, I have a problem, actually. Especially, there's a particular store that I shop for my children's clothing. And in that store, they use only white children. And I've always wondered that I'm coming here and spending my Naira for my...
In Nigeria?
Yes, in Nigeria. Spending my Naira in this shop.
It's a white company.
Nigerian children. Why can't I see a reflection of my kind of children on your walls?
Yeah.
And even me, I even went ahead to say, I would like to speak to the manager here. In that one, I feel in that way, a Nigerian can be determined by how they look. the color of our skin is either dark skin, you know, different shades of it,
Okay.
our type of hair, and things like that. You can say, but with that accent, I think we're going to
Let me take what Miriam said. Now, let's put it in another perspective. So you have a child, right? And maybe a child left Nigeria, schooled in America for quite a number of years, moved back home, gets a radio job, and then somebody says, please come and do voiceover for my product, right? And then he sounds American. Now, do you think what this new act is saying, that a Nigerian child should not sound American, or we shouldn't hire a foreigner? I mean, what do you think? What would you think is more appropriate? Is it okay for a Nigerian child to sound American? Because I think you're Nigerian at least.
This is what I think. No Chinese stays in the UK and loses his Chinese accent.
They do.
But then wait,
I'm not
saying the one they born on. I'm saying the one who visits. Not the Indians. Even the ones here, we were at one of these ice cream shops the other day, myself and my kids, and a couple of Indian kids were having gist in English. And it took me listening with 6 digits, 6 cents to understand what they were saying. These were people loudly talking. They come with their accents. They're not begging anybody or apologizing. So even if a Nigerian child is coming from abroad, you're supposed to speak in Nigeria in a way an average Nigerian,
would understand.
educated enough, walking on the streets can understand without having to. And I used to turn off radio stations before the pidgin radio started, just because some people go, I cannot be bothered. Because me, I am a Nigerian, and I cannot use iron sponge to clean my teeth just because I want to understand you. You should speak normal. I call it normal. It means that the area you grew up in, just as BC said earlier,
It's reflected.
it's reflective in your way the way you speak.
Yeah.
And it bothers me that some parents put on the TV and put it on a particular channel, I will not mention, so that the kids growing up must sound that way.
Yeah.
They said it's called to sound international best standard. I'll be like, who determines? Because what is foreign is clear. But what is international is not clear. What is international is something that must appeal across board. And it doesn't have to be a particular colonial way for it to be international.
Thanks for staying with us. So during the inauguration of the Orthopedic and Trauma Center at the Federal Medical Center, Lagos, the Minister of State for Health, Mr. Joseph Ekumankama, acknowledged that the mass relocation of health personnel was a problem and was becoming worrisome. According to him, the greatest challenge facing the sector presently is the doctors and nurses leaving the country. He appealed to them to please remain in Nigeria to see the efforts of the government. For this conversation to go ahead, I can also remember a conversation I had with somebody who was telling me that people who are moving into the UK now are not the types. They are educated.
Yeah.
As they're entering, they're going straight into the
Professions,
workforce.
yeah.
It's not like those days where you come in, you go and do taxi first,
No,
you go and hustle here.
They have
There's
their
nothing like that.
certificates already
They are
from
coming in and in fact they're being poached. Some even if they do 1 or 2 year courses, they're going into what they make
Proper
£50,000 a year.
professional
Look at those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
So the same way we're also losing highly skilled people to Canada, we're losing them to Australia, we're losing them to America. So let's remove the fact that people are going there to go and hustle. Not all of them are going there to go and hustle. So these guys in the health sector are moving on. What are your thoughts? Because the minister was saying something about patriotism, asking them to be patriotic to stay back. Do you think it's the right thing to ask them not to leave? Or do you think the onus is on them to become patriotic? And say, you know what, I must stay.
Yeah. So for me, I like the fact that it was an appeal. You know, I don't have the right to make a law to say don't go, but I'm just appealing. Is there any way we can work together and see how we can develop our country, especially in the healthcare system? Is there any way you can just suspend the plan to leave and let's all put our hands together and do this work? It's a very fantastic appeal. I like that. But I would also like that in making that appeal, because you are asking them to sacrifice their dreams of having a good life, doing the job that they love and being able to feed themselves and, you know, take care of themselves and go to raise their children, have a good home, a decent car and all that. You're telling them to suspend that dream for a greener pasture, to fix your country because of patriotism. I would also like that you come to the table and show us what you yourself, who is appealing, is going to do concerning your side of patriotism. So you're coming to the table. I want you to stay. But I am willing to say that in this interim that we're all looking to work this country out, that none of our government officials will travel out, will stay here. We use the medical facilities so that we can monitor what we are doing, monitor and see the progress we are doing. I would also say that in this time that I'm asking you to stay, we'll make sure that we pay this, pay that, increase this hazard allowance, make sure that you have the facilities that you need, make sure that you have the proper treatment you have been clamoring for. Make sure that you have it. So you are working, you're staying back, and I'm putting in efforts to make it comfortable for you to stay back and do your work. Then I would understand that there's sincerity in this appeal. But don't come and blackmail me with patriotism when I'm not seeing you make any sacrifices.
Okay, so I hear that. But let me come to you, Nima, because I have a theory that you can't stop anybody from leaving. I don't even think it's a good strategy for government to stop us from leaving, because if you want to leave, you have to leave. But in fact, I don't think it's beneficial to the country for people to leave to get more knowledge, better knowledge. However, what I think the strategy of government should be is to attract people back home. Because there are people who are there, who have learned the skills, who have seen they've seen the new modern way of health servicing. And they say, you know what, and many of them want to come home. They really want to relocate. They're done. Their children are now in university. They're all grown. And they're like, okay, I can't just be working here for all these years. I want to go back to Nigeria. But there's no enabling environment to attract them. So the strategy shouldn't be, don't go. The strategy should be, those of you that have gone, come back. This is what we are creating to let you be able to function in Nigeria. What do you think? Do you think that's the right strategy, or do you think we should still be patriotic and not leave at all?
So I think that's the right strategy, totally. And I actually think it's not just to win back, it's to keep. The number of doctors that we train here is still cheaper to train a doctor here. There are several cases they can use to train and learn here. So let's make it so lucrative that even when they go out to acquire additional skills, because most of the time when they go out to acquire additional skills, they don't come back. So your business is not to discourage those who already have businesses, who are already settled in those countries, and convince them to come back. Your business is to make it such that those who are trained here will be willing and love staying here. They will be content with staying here. Is the work condition okay? If they want to treat a person, do they have the implements and tools
that they need
at their beck and call? Or do patients still have to buy their gloves, buy this, buy that, so that the doctor will even be tired? You know, to assist the person, you're worried. Keep the working conditions, the facility where they need to work in the right condition, and see some people will stay. So let's put our money where our mouth is exactly. And that goes to everybody in government, because we hear patriotism, but the least patriotic people are those in government.
So we saw a story that was pretty interesting, and I'd like Nima to establish the story, because it's the kind of thing Nima likes to talk about. You know?
The man is abroad, in Europe, and in such countries they get child benefits and all of that. He relocated and did everything possible to take his family with him. So the woman got there, applied for the children's benefit, and then she applied to her own account. She got the money herself. The man asked why, but she just sort of explained it that just their money is still for both of us. And so he allowed it while he continues to get to provide for the family, work hard and everything. She saves this money to a point and thought, no, I have so much money now. She buys the property in Nigeria, builds it, and when they had issues in the marriage and got divorced or separated, she went straight for him. That what do you have to show? For all these years of work. What do you have to show for it? Look at you, ordinary house you don't have. So this brings to issue. The person posting the tweet now brought out issues that, we have so many issues. Are we going to talk about joint on separate accounts? Are we going to talk about the goal of the union? Is it the goal of that union? With access to each other's accounts, or what the use of the benefits was for? And this brings to mind a lot of the situation of most parents in Africa here. We don't get children benefits. But you see, one daddy who is a provider, who knows how to wake up 5 a.m. every day, comes home very late at night, and mommy is the one giving the kids money. So the children think mommy gives us everything. When we want to talk to daddy, maybe because of daddy's schedule is so tight, he can't even see his children. A woman will not put that picture that, it's because of daddy that we can even, we're thriving. We won't give the children that picture. And then suddenly a separation happens. She's busy maybe because of some bitterness that they have, forgetting the role of that provider who backs and shoulders every other thing in the house, gives the children the impression that, you see your father,
I don't want to
allow the children to grow with that impression. I have seen it. So I could relate with this story well. This happened abroad, but this is the situation of most parents here.
So I wouldn't say most, because a lot of, this is why I wouldn't say most, because a lot of mothers are the one really footing the bills in their homes today. Many of them are, in reality. The narrative of daddy wakes up 5 a.m. in the morning, comes out at night, that was back then. The brothers now wake up when they choose to, they go to their work, and they have flexible, some of them have flexible times, some of them do it 9 to 5, others, so it's not like back then. But the crux of this comment, let me come to you as a family life coach, because these are some of the issues we deal with. As a woman, how much of the sources of our resources do we disclose to our children? I mean, is it important for us to have, because sometimes a woman always feels like this, I'm sacrificing, I'm doing a lot. And yes, you're doing some, but how do I ensure, I mean, do I have to tell my children how much the father is putting in? Or it doesn't really matter as long as they're being provided for?
I think that communication is very important in marriage, and the man and the woman should be able to decide what they want to present to their children. So when mommy is even giving the money, it is, hi, and your dad, this is what we are providing. You don't have to tell them this is the percentage, but it should not look like mommy is the one doing it.
Everything.
You understand? It should be that the both of us are doing it. Sometimes you don't even have to say who is doing it. Oh, so we have decided this is the money for your school fees, this is this, this is that.
And be very careful, because in this story, we don't know, the woman didn't tell us clearly if the man was, because we don't know, this is from the man's perspective, and I don't want to fall into that trap.
This was from an observer.
An observer.
This was an observer's perspective.
So the situation is, who says this man works, to take care of the family, but there's this benefit that comes to the wife alone. Yeah. And, during the course of the marriage, she's able to put that money aside, and she's used it to build a house. And now that has now become her property. And for me, I feel, because you said we need to talk about it from the male perspective, I would say that, first of all, when something like this happens, is unfair. It's not right, because this is supposed to be teamwork. That's what marriage is about. Yes. This is supposed to be a union. You're supposed to do it with the end goal that we're doing it for each other and for our family. Yes. So that she puts money aside to use for something else, and that she uses to mock him. That is wrong.
The husband aware that money is coming in.
Yeah,
he's aware.
He's aware.
He's aware.
So when she filed for the benefit, he knew.
Yes.
And he thought, no need to fight over it. We're married.
Yeah.
He didn't see the future that, it will become something that will be mocked about. So she put these monies aside. And it's the joint benefits of both of them as joint parents of these children at the time she filed. But she thought of
she used the
wisely, thought it should come to her separately.
And I think that the fact that she even went ahead to build a house with the money means that the husband is not aware. So it feels like she also has this,
So that's why I was saying that approach. For that, it's wrong.
So today we're discussing the issue of being a stepfather or being a stepmother. Managing that situation is never an easy decision for any individual. Some have claimed that stepfathers find it easy to accept the child of their wife. But others have also said that many women find it difficult to accept the children of their husbands. So the question is, when you're faced with a situation where you have to deal with stepchildren, how do you confront it?
I want to jump in.
I want to jump in because I must disagree with this analysis. You see, the opportunities or the power tilts across genders. So, because, like we said yesterday, men are head of family and all of that, they take decisions from a certain point of view, while women take decisions from another point of view. So a stepfather accepting a woman into his house is usually dealt with at the point of acceptance. If, for instance, he's marrying a woman who already has kids, he's accepting her from that point, or he's saying no from his PowerPoint. He can say, you can come in, but don't bring your kids. You can, and society would not judge him. But a stepmother who's a woman who is marrying a man who already has kids, as she's coming in, they are judging her already. So she either pretends to be a good woman, comes in and strategizes either to become the wicked stepmother or find a way, if she has generosity in her heart, to be a kind woman. society doesn't always see them the same. And so because of that, they take their decisions from different areas of, and that's my experience that I've seen.
So you're saying that the woman is already prejudged.
Before
so she's coming in with the defense.
So
and the part of her defense mechanism is, I accept, I totally...
A man boldly, some women, let me tell you something. I know something from a family friend who had children from a previous marriage. She hid the children from her next marriage. I was surprised. I kept questioning.
Her own child.
Her own children, two of them, from her next marriage. And I kept questioning, why are you doing this? And she just kept wondering, why won't you understand? Men, all the men I have met, nobody wants to have that. They call my child a baggage. So she put the child on her mom and claimed she was a single girl to marry. And then that marriage too failed. So I sort of got away with telling her, I told you, just, you know, just be free. But when I looked at it, if it was a man, he puts the children in front of the woman. Straight up. They don't have to hide their children, give to their mom and claim. They put their child.
They're in a position of power.
They're in a position of power. You either take me and my child or you deal with it.
A man's responsibility is usually financial. So the basis where a man will say, I'm not going to, is because he looks and says that, see, I cannot afford. I want to marry you. I want to raise, we'll have 2 children. I cannot afford to raise your other 2. It's financial. Straight. In most cases, they are looking at bottom line, my pocket. But for a woman, it's not about finance. It's about the emotional attachment. And the truth is, for women, even dealing with our own children can be an emotional strain based on the child's personality. And when you now put that woman to deal with someone a child who they have no emotional attachment to, you know, not like you're not my biological child, and then you are acting out, you know, those teenage years, or they're doing something unusual, it's a huge burden to expect that woman to... Some mothers actually, they cry, they beat, they do everything. They are almost rejecting their own biological child, but nobody will complain. But if they do the same reaction to a stepchild, they say she's been a wicked stepmother. But she's just trying to cope with the emotional burden of raising the children. Most of the time, the men are not put under pressure to be emotionally available. But women have to be emotionally available. You have to be there.
So when you're looking at it that way, just like, you know, without... going deep into it, it just looks like it's easier to be a stepfather, or stepfathers find it easier to accept children than stepmothers. But if we were to dig further, I just think it's not really about mothers or fathers, or stepfathers or stepmothers. It's really about individuals. Money also plays a major role. The more money you have, sometimes the easier it is for a lot of things not to be a problem. So if you have to decide whose school fees has to be paid first, that can be a tough decision. Recently, I read a story online, a girl who was saying that, see, my stepmother, she has her own children, but she's the breadwinner of the house. My dad doesn't have any money. And now we're about to go into university or so. Her younger brother, who's a half-brother, his mom is able to pay for his fees, but she cannot go because the mother wants to pay for her own child first. Before her. And, you know, the response is, that's a wicked stepmother. Why would she not send you first? After all, you're older than her own child. But there are people who say, but is it not survivor, really, that you want to protect your own child first? You pay for your own child. That's the one that... So where do you place that woman? Is she a wicked woman, or is she a woman that... And then if she pays for the stepchild, is it a woman that is not looking to raise her own child?
You can pay for your stepchild to go to school. At the time when it's time for you to have your own child to go to school, you don't have the resources anymore.
So it's really a tough situation. There are some people who are willing to make the sacrifice and say, okay, everybody stay at home. But if you look at it as human beings, when the push comes to shove, what would we do?